let's take a look at the fit and finish on my 2020 Gladiator back there. Well, good morning everybody and welcome back to the channel. Hey, today I wanted to take a look at the fit and finish on my 2020 Gladiator back here. I did it recently with the Tacoma over here, and for the most part it was pretty good. But what is the Jeep Gladiator like? First of all, I'm going to start here in the front, and what I'm talking about are the lines where the seams come together. You know, those little annoying things that you can discover as you're washing the truck or waxing it or whatever, that you think, gee, that's a little bit off. So we're going to start kind of over here on the side, and the things I'm talking about, like the lines, the seams, right down here where the hood is, where it meets the next part, kind of stuff like that. The plastics, where they fit, are they marred, do they fit well? The antenna over here, is the circle in the center or is it off? You know, just a little crazy things like that. Now, starting here, we're going to take a look at this cowl piece, because this is just plastic and it can become distorted, it can warp, especially in the heat where I'm at here. And what I'm looking at is kind of the seams all around here, and then, like I said, where it meets the hood, particularly right here on the edge. Does it bow out? Because on my wife's 2018 up there, her Wrangler, it does bow out here on the side, and you can see that kind of from the top. So this is the passenger side. It looks pretty good to me. It looks like it's pretty much in line, no big deal. So we go over here and check it against the driver's side. And same thing over here. It might be in just a little bit further, maybe. And there's even a little nick right there I see right now in the paint on the finish. Very minor, but it's there. Otherwise, looks like it aligns pretty well. No issues there with it sticking out. The little emblem they have seems to be positioned correctly in the little circle here. In other words, it's not skewed one way or the other. The plastic over here on the mirror looks good. Now, looking at the seam down the side here, you can see right along here, looks pretty good, looks pretty uniform, and I'm comparing it to the other side, right along here. Actually looks really good. Now, going over here to the front, and this I want to show you as compared to my wife's, because hers is really off. And it looks like mine is off a little bit as well. If you look over here at the corner, there's more of a gap in between the grill and the hood top right there. I don't know if you can tell on camera, hopefully. There's just more of a gap here. It's wider when you go over here and compare it to this side. So the hood is a little bit skewed this way, if you will. It kind of goes down a little bit more on this side. Now, let's take a look at my wife's up here in the garage for comparison. You can see what I'm talking about. Hers is pretty far off, actually. If you look at it here, straight on, you should be able to see the way it gaps right here as compared to the way it gaps right there. I mean, look at this difference. I can stick, we'll use my little finger, my pinky. I can stick my pinky in there past my fingernail, right? You can see that, and I'm not really jamming it in there or anything. But when we go over here, I can't hardly get it, I can't get it in at all. So there's at least, what, more than a 1/4 inch, I mean my pinky is more than a 1/4 inch thick, if you will. There's more than a 1/4 inch difference over here. And you can see it as you move from this side, the gap gets bigger as you go down the hood. And it's pretty noticeable on her Jeep. I must admit, I had noticed that a while back. Now while we're in here, let me point this out, the cowl that we looked at down there. You can see here, it's nice and flush, right? Doesn't stick out or anything. But if you go over here to the other side, you can see that indeed it does stick out away from the edge. Just one of those little things. Will it get worse? Will it bow out further? I don't know. Next up, let's look down the side of the Gladiator here. The fender back here, you know, is it all aligned in its little groove here like it should be? And it looks pretty good. No real issues there. The door gapping, is it straight? You know, does it angle or come further in anywhere? You can see a little bit here it does. Up here, it's a little bit closer than it is say right down here. It's not bad. It's not far off. The door handles, do they fit within the little gap that they have here for them? Do they move around? I've had some handles before that these actually move. And I've not checked this before, so nothing on this side. They look pretty good. Let's go over and check the driver's side because I'm curious myself as to whether or not they move at all. Little bit of movement there. Here, pretty tight. Little bit there. Here, tight. No movement at all, and no movement there. Now, that could be due to the fact that this, of course, moves when you open and close the door, right? I mean, it has to move within its assembly here. But the other sides don't move. This one does, so a little bit off there. Looking at the door seams here, starting at the top, you can see right there what kind of gap we have, and it's actually pretty close on this side. Come over here, looking in this area here, compared to down here, we're a little bit wider at the bottom, about like the other side, but again, nothing that's horrible. Now, one thing that I will say, keep in mind, there is a tolerance. I don't know if you guys have ever seen any videos where the engineers are going around with little gauges that they're checking all of the gaps and things between all of the pieces and the body parts on all of their vehicles. So there is a tolerance that they can have, whatever the thickness of their gauge is, a little thickness gauge. So as long as you're within that, it's considered acceptable, I guess. And so far, I haven't seen anything on my truck really that looks to be too far out of line. Now let's move around to the back. Right here where the bed meets the cab, and we'll go by, I guess, just the distance between here and here, if you will, or between the seal and the edge of the truck, which you notice it doesn't touch at all over here. You can see it's nice and straight, it looks like. And looking down the actual area where they come together there, looks pretty good. I don't see any big difference, you know, in that it's closer on that edge than this edge. So that looks pretty good. Let's go over and check the other side. Right here, kind of the same thing. Looks pretty good to me. The distance looks to be about the same. The gap between the seal and the cab looks good. It's not touching. Looks uniform. And looking back down from this side, doesn't look like anything is, you know, closer or anything like that. So pretty good. Pretty impressed with that. I think they did a good job there as well. Now, one thing I wanted to check here in the back, because on the Tacoma out there, oh, there's Krista. Because on the Tacoma out there, the bumper is a notoriously off area on the Tacoma rather. So let's take a look at the bumper here on the Jeep. And what I'm looking at really is the distance right here between the Jeep or the bumper itself and the panel right here. And I'm actually going to measure it. I happen to have a handy dandy tape measure with me here because I'm curious, only because of the problems with the Tacoma. But if you throw a tape measure up right there and look at that, we're about, we're going to call it 3/4 of an inch, that gap. Now let's go check over here, and indeed we are different by almost 1/4 inch. So the bumper back here does not sit straight across the back of the truck. It's not off hugely, but what it's doing is it sits more like this. So it's angled more towards the passenger side than the driver's side. So we have the same thing here. I don't know why the truck makers don't seem to be able to get the bumpers on there straight, if you will. But it seems to be the same way on the Jeep back here. Although I will say it is less pronounced than what it is on the Tacoma out there. Now let's take a quick look over here at Krista's Jeep, and we're going to look just right here at this gap on the edge. I can fit the end of my finger down in there, and let's go over to this side. Oh, way different. I can't fit my finger in there at all, and it's actually on mine the opposite. The driver's side is further away and the passenger side is closer. So again, just a little bit of a difference. It's kind of just those little things, you know. And again, these are the kind of things that you don't really notice until you're washing it or waxing it or something like that. And then you come across these little things and it starts to leave an impression, you know, as to what kind of fit and finish or quality does the product really have. I'm actually pretty impressed on the Jeep. I expected it to be a little bit worse. It's actually better than my Tacoma is back there, which is good. Kudos to Jeep. They seem to be paying attention, or maybe I just got lucky on this one. I don't know. Anyway, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. You noticed any of these kind of things about the fit and finish on your Jeep Gladiator? I'd be curious to know. Hey, also, if you're interested and you want to, check out my other channel. It's all about the Toyota Tacoma back there. It's called Rob Motive. And don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.